We are live.
We are live, the Hunt for Success. It's Friday. I'm Cody Steinman. Ryan McCracken's on the computer, and we're here with Larry Hales today.
Yep.
Did I get it right, Larry Hales? Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First time in the museum. We were just talking about how I love when people that haven't been here, I love seeing their first reaction.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my first words when I walked in was, wow. I mean, it's hard to fathom it. I see it on the podcast and I've seen, pictures of it in the past, and then you walk in, it's a whole different level. It's pretty incredible.
We've talked a lot about taking risks and polarizing yourself a little bit in your business.
Yeah.
And we've done that a little bit on this podcast, because we want this podcast to really be genuine to who we are, and we love business and success and stories about entrepreneurialism, but we also like to hunt and fish, and we like to do this kind of stuff. So having the opportunity to film here, Roger Wendell, shout out to Roger Wendell for letting us do this, but how could you not take advantage of a venue like this,
yeah.
Right?
And I didn't even know it actually existed until you guys started filming here, and I'd never been in here before.
What I want to do is, I think this is 35 or 36, something like that.
Something like that.
When we get to 50, I want to have a party here and bring on the 50 guests, invite them, and do a big Hunt for Success party.
That'd be cool. Well, there's 3 people that I work with that automatically will be here too, right?
What is it about that place? Ryan and I were talking about it briefly today that draws such high talent. WFG is not a sponsor of our show. They are a business partner of ours on our mortgage side of our business. But I think why we've had so many of their employees on the show is because they have such a high level of talent. Starting with Pat Stone, when he was on, his stories were fascinating, and his reason why behind it. And we have Noah and your boss,
and there's, aside from those guys alone, there's so much more talent there aside from those guys. And it was when they gave me the call and said, hey, are you looking to make a change? I actually felt honored. And one of the things that I told my boss after the interview was like, I've been waiting for 3 years.
Your boss is Justin Tucker.
Justin is my boss. Yeah. And after I interviewed with Justin, I told him, on the way out to the car, I've been waiting for 3 years for you to call me.
That's awesome.
So do you think it just has a lot to do with talent attracts talent?
I think talent attracts talent for sure. You like to surround yourself with like-minded individuals or people who maybe have the same goals and aspirations. I think that has a lot to do with it too. And it's just, it's a different feel. It's a different culture than the other places that I've worked in the past. So, and Justin, nod to Justin if he's watching this, but he's a pretty inspirational guy as well.
Yeah, very inspirational when he was on our show, just talking about getting a start fresh with a new company and some of the stories.
Yeah, so it's funny because I got a story kind of around that when I first started in the industry in 2010, and I think that was their first year of existence. And I remember sitting around and looking at the market share report when I worked in Portland at the time, and we all kind of laughed like, what were they thinking, type of thing. And then
this was right after the crash.
It was right after the crash. Yeah, 2010 is when I started in the industry, and the market share report comes out a month later, and we're looking at it, and we noticed they made a jump up. Now they're at 5%, and now they're at 6%, now they're at 7%. Now people are talking about them. Now they're at 10%, and now they're at 12%, and just watching this incredible rise over a very, very short time, like 5 years. And there were other title companies who came in at the same time that were trying to do the same thing and couldn't recreate it, and ended up folding. So,
if I remember right, Justin Tucker's a big pizza fan, right?
Huge, yeah.
Is his office in Portland?
It is Tigered, yeah.
I've been working on my pizza dough recipe, so I'm going to bring him some.
Yeah. Is it the gluten-free with the
No.
cheese? Okay.
No.
Good. It's not with cauliflower?
No, my wife is celiac, so she can't eat gluten.
Okay.
And so I tried making gluten-free.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. It fell apart. I just threw it in the garbage.
Yeah, so I guess my wife tried one with cheese and almond flour, and I choked it down to make her feel better. Hopefully she's not watching this, but
We do every once in a while. We'll do like the cauliflower crust, and it's not the same, but it's healthier.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
Yeah.
If whatever makes you feel good, right?
Well, God, I guess I'm not allergic to gluten for a reason. I don't think I would make it.
Yeah, we need gluten-free beer then, right?
Yeah. Now she has had some gluten-free beer that's okay, and then there are some rice beers, but I don't know. She's a wine drinker.
Good.
So we were just talking before the podcast. You're actually not employed by WFG. You're employed by West.
West.
What's
Yep.
West?
So West is the marketing arm of Williston Financial Group.
Okay.
So the title company is one offshoot, and West is another offshoot of Williston Financial.
And that's Justin Tucker's endeavor.
Yeah, it was his brainchild.
Well, we've met. I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, and the main reason I want to have you on today is because it seems like there's this revolution in almost all industries right now of marketing through education. Right. One of my favorite kind of celebrities in the fishing industry is Joe Roeder. He's the head guide at Red's Fly Shop, and he's been on twice. We actually did an episode out at the fly shop out on the deck.
Yep, I watched it.
And he talks about in 2008 he had some guy at the fly shop that said, video. If you want to get out there with marketing, you got to do video. And so he went all in on YouTube and started doing these educational videos. And I've said this countless of times on the podcast, but he built that whole operation off there, in my opinion, off of that video, off those videos he did. He's done hundreds of them. If you've never fly fished before, you could learn, become a novice, and then become an expert purely off of his YouTube channel for free.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot to learn there, right? And so you're doing a lot of education in our market for mortgage lenders and real estate agents on how to improve their social media game.
Or just overall brand awareness game.
And I looked at that and I saw exactly what you guys are doing, right? Is educating, because that builds value,
Right.
and hopefully you're going to get their business in return. That's the thought behind that. So talk a little bit about that and how that's working out.
Yeah, so I've been doing classes for real estate agents, I think, for close to 10 years now.
And is that primarily your role?
Teaching and one-on-one appointments and helping the title company gain brand awareness and exposure as well. So yeah, that's my primary role.
And obviously there's been results along with that.
It must have worked. WFG is number one in Clark County now for a year running.
And talk a little bit about the influence you've had and kind of the success stories of people that you've been able to influence.
Yeah, there's a couple of real estate agents that come to mind. I won't name any names, but there's, one in particular came to me and she said, I'm spending $2,500 a month at Zillow and getting these cold leads and not closing hardly any of them, and wasn't really sure where to go or what to do. And so I sat down and said, okay, well, what's your strong suits? What's your strong points? What's working well for you right now, and what are you not doing well?
And what did she say? What were her strong points?
Her strong points, she cared a lot about her customers. She took them to heart, and she was very, very, she took them really under her wing. So I said, you need to start doing video. So here we are on video again, started doing video, started doing live video, a lot of live video. And it started out just in her car, just, having conversations and talking. And lo and behold, her brand awareness started increasing exponentially from there.
And was she putting these videos on just Facebook?
Just Facebook.
So not YouTube, nothing like that?
Nope, just Facebook. And in fact, this particular agent did not even have a website, so she didn't have an active website. She didn't have, much of a brand.
You can
awareness.
say her name. I think we should say her name.
I can guess.
No, I'll just let you guys guess.
Yeah. We'll let it be.
All right.
Yeah. She didn't have a website. She didn't have Instagram at the time either, and but
if she wants to come on, she knows who she is if she's listening. She can come on and tell us her name.
you guys should have her come on.
We'd love to.
She's pretty cool. She's a cool cat. Yeah. But what ended up happening was she just took her brand awareness to just a whole different level, and then lo and behold, people started watching her, people started following her, and more importantly, people started referring her, and she increased her business, more than 10 times.
And are her videos, are they on the educational side, or are they more just promotion, or?
They're not really promotional, no. It's more like, hey, here's what happened today at this particular listing. I had this happen, or on this buyer, I had this happen. Just really kind of not really educational per se, but informative. How about that?
And obviously, she's had increase in business.
Huge increase, yeah. She had a very, very good year last year.
Good, and she attributes a lot of that just to the stuff you were showing her.
Yeah, just online. And she does a lot of marketing as well, a lot of ads. So I think she still spends money at Zillow, but substantially less than she did before, and puts her money into Facebook ads and Instagram ads now instead.
How many people that you talk to have no idea? Like when you start saying pixels and boosting, and this is how you figure out what websites they went to, and I mean,
I would say probably 99%. Yep, 99%. They have absolutely no idea that they think it's something that only big corporations can do, and they don't realize, well, wait a second, I can capture people if just by them being on my website, I can retarget them and put an ad in front of them. Yeah. Yep. And it's especially useful if your ad doesn't look like an ad, and that's kind of a tricky thing to do. You have to put things in front of people that don't look salesy and selling. I hate ads, by the way. I mean, everywhere you go on Google, you're going to see ads immediately. You go on Instagram, you're going to see ads. Facebook, I think there's maybe 10 different places you can put ads now, and I hate seeing ads.
So what's the difference between an ad and a social media post designed for marketing that doesn't look like an ad?
Yeah,
what's the difference?
A video on fly fishing. If you took a video on fly fishing and said, here's the basics of fly fishing, and if you ever wanted to learn how to fly fish, you can come check out my YouTube channel right here. It's an ad, but it doesn't look like an ad.
Yeah, and I guess on Joe's videos, he does always say, what's going on at Reds? Come stay with us. We got openings this weekend.
Right.
So he does throw that in there, but it's an afterthought.
It is. It's total afterthought. And not only that, but then people are more apt to share that content as well.
Do you think that we were talking too right before the podcast just about passion, right? And the difference when we have a guest on and we're discussing something and then we hit a topic that we're really passionate on, they completely change.
Right.
Do you think that that's important too when you're doing these posts that are marketing but not designed to be an ad?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you can tell when somebody's on video and they're not passionate about a certain subject, they're kind of nonchalant about it, and you can tell when somebody's eyes light up immediately when they're talking about this new listing that they've got coming on in Kalama or Ridgefield. You can tell immediately just by the look on their face and their excitement level. And if you really don't love something, you should probably not do video on it anyway.
That's a good point.
Well, and I'm sure the mortgage industry, it'd be hard for people to understand how could you be passionate about mortgage financing, right? Because it's
Right.
kind of a dull topic. But I can tell you that when you get to the people aspect of it, it is easy to get passionate. So maybe if you're in a career or your business isn't a very passion-focused business,
Right.
there's still things that you can be passionate, or else you shouldn't be doing it, right?
And you can be passionate about helping somebody with a loan who's no longer renting and now they're in their own home, in their own backyard, around their own fire pit, type of thing. And you freed them from the shackles of having a landlord. That's a success story, and that's something that you can share with other people, and you could turn that into an ad instead of saying, here's what the mortgage rates are doing for
I'm going to
March
steal that.
2015.
Well,
I'm going to steal the shackles of a landlord.
To be-
That's excellent. I'm going to make a YouTube post about
To
it.
give a real life example, I just posted this afternoon. I was able to help a borrower refinance, cash out, considerable cash flow monthly change, showed him how reinvesting that, we're going to take that 30-year down to an 11-year loan.
Yeah.
He'll be debt free at retirement. And, we're adding to his loan balance, and his interest rate actually increased a little bit. And so most people would look at all that and go, how does that even make sense? But doing something like that, that's where our job becomes very rewarding.
How did you feel when that phone call was over?
Well, he actually the loan's just closing, so it's real to him now. So over the next few years, like, I'll be checking in and making sure he's staying on his target plan, and yeah.
Because we just went through a transition from one company to another last December.
Yep.
And so it's been a lot of operational focus, a lot of building everything back up in the infrastructure. And it does seem like in our office, the last couple of weeks, somebody will get out of a meeting with a client, and in fact, I got out of one, and I was like, that was fun. That's the fun part of our business.
Right.
I want to do that more often.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be in it. So we're just getting back to that point where that passion comes across organically.
Right.
Like, I'm truly excited. And so I think that's the time we've got to start capturing these videos.
Yep. And so the story that you just told of this gentleman, if you could get him to tell that story on a short video, how big would that testimonial be to turn that, even if you made it into an ad, or even if you didn't have to turn it into an ad, if you put that out there and got organic reach, if he's on the video and he's talking about what a great experience it was, he's going to tell other people. And what a better way to do that than on social media, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you get not call reluctance? Do you get reluctance from people that you're helping with wanting to do that because maybe they have privacy concerns? They
Yeah.
don't want to come across like they're bragging,
Yeah.
or they're using this person to get more business. Because that's kind of where my headspace goes.
Mm-hmm.
And in our conversations, you got to get out of the headspace. Most people aren't going to perceive it that way.
And most people aren't. If I had a great closing with you guys and you said, hey, would you mind like doing a short little video? And it doesn't have to be where you turn the camera on and say, okay, go ahead, video boy, speak and tell us, if you just set up a camera at a couple of different angles and had a conversation and then took a couple snippets of that conversation and put it down into a little infomercial, that would be quite sufficient as well. But yeah, a lot of pushback. In fact, there's a lot of pushback. People don't want to put themselves on video. They think they don't like the way they sound, or they don't like the way they look, or maybe they've put on 10 pounds in the last 2 years. And, I'm like, but that's the way you look. That's the way you sound. And everybody else sees you that way. So we can't all be the picture
For
on
better-
our
for
business
better or
card.
worse.
Yeah. The picture on the business card, a lot of agents are guilty of this, is they use the picture on the business card is like from 1989,
There's a few of them.
and
Do you think that a good strategy is to have a mixture of both professional, like thought out, scripted, look good, green screen maybe, more videos, as along with me on a Sunday out driving around showing clients houses, more casual? Do you think a mixture of that's good?
yeah, I think a mixture of it would be better, only because you're catering it to two different audiences. If you have a cold audience and a warm audience, and by a cold audience I mean people who have never heard of you before, have no idea who you are, but they're 1 degree of separation from your warm audience. And people from your warm audience go, oh wow, that's really cool, and then they hit the share button or they hit the like button, and they're exposing it to the cold audience. If that's the first impression from a cold audience, it's probably good that you come across as a professional, wearing a suit type of thing. And then they see your other content about out having fun, showing property. I think if you show the fun side of yourself, people relate to that more than if you're polished.
Well, it's kind of like the outtakes of like trying to put together a good video.
Oh.
The outtakes are always the best because it's like you being as real
Yeah.
as real gets.
Yeah. So if you took a real video and threw a couple outtakes at the beginning of it, and then maybe in the middle of it threw another outtake, and then towards the end threw another outtake, you would engage your audience the whole way through, because they're like, oh my gosh, what outtake is going to happen next? What is he going to say next? Type of thing. So I think those are particularly well done, because you're keeping your audience captivated through a minute video, or maybe even 2-minute video.
So kind of on that thought, do do you encourage people, with exceptions, of course, to try to do your videos in one take?
A live video is always the best, and because anything goes and anything can happen. And you say something that you say and you go, oh, you know what, I didn't mean to say that. Here's what I really meant, whereas if it's a polished look, if it looks produced and it's got text that flies in and everything else, people know like, oh my gosh, this is a freaking ad.
Well, shout out to Dave Savage with Mortgage Coach, because I've been doing videos. If you said, hey, Cody, do you do videos? I've been doing videos since 2010, not necessarily on Instagram or social media, but through his Mortgage Coach software. I do a video, every client gets one, and I do a video 100% of the time. And for the first couple years, it would take me a dozen takes, right? And I would hiccup or I would stutter. And he gave me really good advice. He says, do it in one take and keep it under 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And so for the past 6 years, very occasionally will I do 2 takes if I really screw up. But I try to do that. And doesn't matter if I turn it on, all of a sudden my hair's screwed up, or if I do stutter, unless it's egregious error,
Right.
then I just let it rip. And I get really good feedback on those.
Because they're genuine.
They're genuine. And when one of my clients, and I didn't mean for this podcast to be a lot about Ryan and I, our business, but a lot of those contacts, that's the first time they see me, because usually at this point it's all been over the phone.
Right.
So I found that I've been getting more positive feedback when I've shortened those down to 30 seconds.
Yep.
And I'm just myself.
Right.
I do it in one take.
And now they put a face with a name and a voice, and it's even better, if you're maybe not in an office setting, you're in, maybe in your car or something like that, or at a hockey game, something, and they see.
Well, there
like,
must be something.
He's a real guy.
And there must be something psychological there, because especially when they're seeing you for the first time, because when you meet somebody in person for the first time, you don't get to do multiple takes.
No.
You do it the first time.
Right.
So if someone's seeing you for the first time on video, maybe there's some psychological subconscious thing going on.
It looks way more genuine.
It looks way more genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought about it.
Like if I walked back in that door and you said, hey, we want you to walk back in that door and act surprised
Yeah,
like you did when you
recreate it.
first came in, and I'd come in and go, wow, it wouldn't have the same impact.
Yeah.
If I think maybe you should do that. You should tell people, hey, when you first come in, we're gonna record you guys coming into this place at the very first time, just so that you can get their reaction when they come in.
That'd be good.
I mean, and if it's a great reaction, use it. If it's one of those like, oh my God, what did I walk into type of thing, then don't
Can't
post
can
that.
it.
Don't post that.
The funniest reaction we ever saw, it was for an event I was throwing here, and there was a gentleman that either just moved here or he was visiting from like Zimbabwe,
Okay.
and he came in late.
Uh-oh.
And we were all up front talking. There was someone who was doing a presentation, and I heard the door open and shut really quick. And so I walk over and open the door, and this guy is genuinely terrified
PTSD.
of those lions. And so I'm like, well, come in, it's all right. And he like walks around the lions, and he's like, you don't understand where I live. Like, that's a real threat.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know if funny's the right word. I got him laughing about it, but that was the funniest reaction
Right.
to walking in here. I wish I would have got that on video.
In fact, you guys could probably just take one of these cameras right here and just set it up on the doorway and get people's reaction as they come in. Because I'm sure my reaction was probably, it was very, very striking when you first walk in. And I think that'd be fun. And not only that, but that reaction is very, very genuine. And that's something that if you posted that on social media, people would share it. And then you're getting exposure for the museum at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So can you transfer this to any business across the spectrum, any field?
Yeah.
Do you think?
I think so. I think it's transferable to quite a few businesses. Yeah, I think that a lot of businesses do a very poor job of social media in general, and I think there's a lot of fear involved in that. Like they don't know what to post, they don't know when to post, they don't know how to read the analytics, they don't know what's the best time, or
Well, they're not
how to-
experts at it.
They're not
It's
experts at it.
for me, looking at social media, it's very cumbersome.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my schedule's full.
Right.
It's like, how do I fit in learning how to become a social media expert and understanding how pixels work and do all this. And
Right.
it's just like when it's on my list of ideas,
Right.
it'll be at the bottom every time. We go to Sales Mastery, Todd Duncan Sales Mastery
Mm-hmm.
every year. Every year, all right, you're going to do Facebook this year. And it always ends up at the bottom. And then I go the following year and I take out my previous year's list, and it's one of the only things that's not checked off.
So that's kind of the mantra that Justin put forward this year is we're gonna move away from the refresh events. You guys have been to refresh,
Yeah,
right?
I love those events.
Yeah, they were great. I missed the one the year before, the last one that they did in Portland, because I was climbing ice at the time. I'd made that trip way before. Anyway, long story short.
I want to talk about the climate ice too. But,
Okay.
but finish.
Cool.
Keep going.
But we've moved away from refresh into a different level where it's called execute, where we actually have you bring in your laptop or your iPad, and we get those things checked off of the list so that you say,
Yes.
like, you know what, I really want to get my Facebook page up to speed, and so that I know what to post and when to post and how to read analytics. And I put the class on where you bring it, and it's as you walk out the door, it's checked off your list. You're like, that's done.
That is so exciting, and you've been doing that a little bit with some classes that we've been putting on.
I have,
We'll do one class where it's kind of a bigger group where we talk through it, and then we'll do a workshop after.
Yep.
And that was the first time you talked about friends list.
Yeah.
I had it on my list from the 2 weeks before or whatever it was, but I'm
Now
like,
it's off.
Screw it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start doing the checklist.
Yeah. And that's
So you're going to do that with a big audience?
I like smaller audiences.
No, but for
you know.
this new event you're doing.
Oh, no. These are all smaller audiences.
Gotcha.
Like 10 people, 10 people at a time.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So you're already doing it. It's not like a
We're
once a year
already doing
deal.
it. Yep. We do them all the time now. I think I probably do maybe 2 a week. Now.
Well, it's crazy because everyone in our industry knows who you are, and we just met a couple months ago.
Right.
And so, I mean, obviously for recognition and brand awareness, it's working.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I honestly say I probably have the best job in the whole world. Get me on the side of an ice wall. Maybe I was stressed out, but yeah, I don't get too worked up. Once in a while, I do. But I do. I have the greatest job in the world. I get to spread this kind of gospel and see the expression when I meet with a client and I say, hey, let's go ahead and set up your pixel on your as an audience so that you can start retargeting people who've been to your website. And they're like, what, you can do that? Like, okay, well now what do I put in front of them once I have them pixeled? I'm like, well, let's put together some content and we'll take this video right here and turn it and throw it over to your pixel audience and see what happens.
And you're improving on the way they comment and the way they view other people's posts.
Right. Yeah.
And I wanted you to talk about bringing it online, offline. But before you do, can I ask you a kind of a hard question?
Yeah.
Do you think that you're risking oversaturating our market with agents taking this approach?
Yeah, sometimes. The here's the great thing is if you have a room full of 10 people, 2 people might actually do it and follow through with it. Honestly.
I can say for a fact, I know when you've done a class because I get a bunch of realtors Facebook friend requesting me. Every time I'm like, dang it, Larry.
Yeah. Somebody needs to shut that guy up, man. Yeah. And, one of the other things, too, is trying to put something genuine back into their social media so that they're not just selling. Because, I hate ads. I hate being sold to myself, and I'm not going to show them how to do that same thing.
All right, let me ask you another tough question. Well, wasn't a really tough question, but kind of one of those reluctance questions. So a lot of people will pick one thing, like a baby or their dog, or you name it. Those are 2 popular ones, and they'll post on that one thing all the time. And it's like I'm not a big Facebook user, but on Instagram, if I have to see a post with a cheesy quote about your kid twice a day, every day, I'm gonna unfollow you. And with my Instagram post, I started doing these pictures of a dog and then a mortgage quote. Like if I see a puppy on the street or whatever, I would take a picture of it. And
Yeah.
I'd put a quote, like a mortgage quote, because it's around my branding's around a dog. And I started right off the bat. I gained followers, but then I was like, all right, I'm up to 130. This is working. And then all of a sudden, I was doing it every day.
110.
I went below where I started.
Yeah.
And I think it's because people don't want to constantly see you in their feed every day, at least on Instagram. So is that a problem, do you think? I mean, you have to be careful there?
Yes and no. And I think a lot of what you're seeing, especially on Instagram, is there's these follow, unfollow bots. Okay.
Oh.
And I can actually set up a script on my Instagram and say, I want you to go follow 50 people a day who are doing ultra running. Okay. And so they're going to get a notification saying this guy's following you, and they're going to go, oh, who's that? Oh, he's an ultra runner too. And they're going to click follow back. And then I have a script set up to go back and unfollow you as soon as you follow me. Okay. And if I get a notification saying someone's following me and I don't follow them, their script will deactivate and eventually unfollow me.
Battle
Yeah.
of Instagram AIs.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I've never been big on follow, unfollow bots.
Is there a strategy there where, like, because like that's the whole Russian collusion, the Russian meddling, right? Is that they would take your long distance running, is they would start pretending to be a long distance runner, build this big culture around it, and
Yeah.
then start hitting you with subtle political things, and then slowly get it more political to try to influence a large group of people.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, it's
That's
terrifying,
scary.
right?
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
And you can see it. I've never personally seen it on my Instagram. I know other people have talked about that, where they've kind of fallen trap to that, where they'll start following somebody that's following them because it's a hobby, and then
Right.
all of a sudden it starts to get political.
Yeah, and when somebody follows me, I can usually go in and sniff them out right away. And so, like if somebody follows me and they've got epic climbing pictures or they're a trail runner or something like that, I'll follow them back pretty regularly because we have the same common interest. Whether they unfollow me or not, who knows? But I don't really care,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, so I stopped that
Yeah.
campaign because I don't know.
It's pretty easy to strip somebody out and just say, you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just kind of went back to being my authentic self and doing stuff I'm passionate about. So we've been doing a lot of posts about success stuff. Like if we do midweek motivators, which you should come to sometime.
Yeah,
Where
for
every
sure.
Wednesday we bring in
I always need motivation.
yeah, we bring in like-minded people that are in and around our industry. We watch a motivational speaker or personal development speaker
Right.
every Wednesday at noon. So sometimes I'll take a picture of the TV and I'll quote that person and I'll put it on Instagram. I don't throw up all over my Instagram and do it all the time, but
Right.
a few times a month.
Those, and ironically, the ones that you throw up on are probably the highest engagement. Honestly,
Really?
yeah. I would take a look at your insights and see how many, like the quotes that you're putting up probably get more likes and comments than a picture of your logo or
Yeah.
something along those lines.
It's funny because we talk about being authentic in your video. A couple years ago, I was doing almost daily Instagram posts where at the time I was really into personal development, business development, and really working on some stuff. I was going through a Darren Hardy module, and there was lots of good quotes. So I would write a quote on a sticky note, put it on my monitor, and take a picture of it. And I got a lot of follows and a lot of likes on that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, produced and cool graphics or whatever. And I almost think that was more effective than the picture with the words
Well,
and all.
hashtags really. That's
Yeah.
how you can really introduce somebody new into
Yeah.
your world.
Totally. So back to your post-it note. If all you did on your Instagram was those post-it notes, it would probably get old really, really quick. It's just like Jocko taking a picture of his watch every morning.
Yeah.
Eventually I thought it was cool for the first week or two, and then I kind of tuned it out. So
Is
by
he
the
still
way,
doing it?
He
Ryan,
still does it.
You turned me on to Jocko, I
Yeah.
think a year and a half ago.
Showed you
in
that
a
good
meeting.
video.
Yeah, the good video. And I still watch that, I don't know, at least twice a week. Sometimes it's, before a big run that I'm going on. If I'm going on a 20-mile run, I'll watch that just to get me pumped up, and like,
Good.
oh, your knees hurt? Good.
Yeah.
Good. You know, can't feel your lungs? Good. You know, and so we actually make fun of each other when we're running now with my crew, and they're like, you watching good again? Like, yep. The second time, right? I've got to get it going. You know, I got to find some motivation. So you got to dig deep, right?
Sometimes it's food that's the motivation.
Yeah, a beer.
It's good to run fast for food, but
That was
not
me
for
yesterday.
fast food.
Yeah, that was me. Yes, yeah, yesterday. My wife made spaghetti. I walked home, walked in the door at 5 o'clock, and I knew I had to go for a 5 mile, hard run. And I was like, oh man, that spaghetti it smells so good.
It's
It
gonna
would
taste
be
so much
so
better.
easy to just sit down and put in a big old plate of spaghetti and just say, you know what? I'll
it's a
do
night
my
off.
5 miles tomorrow instead. And so instead what I did is I put on my running shoes and plugged my nose and I got out of the house as soon as I could because I knew if I stuck around for too long, I was going to be full of spaghetti.
But how much better that spaghetti tastes when you got home?
Oh man,
Better, right?
it was, yeah. All 3 bowls were fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, Jocko's a great example too of not having empty content. You know, Jocko's popular and he gets all the views on his podcast. One, because he's scary looking and he has a very intimidating voice, that Rambo voice.
Yeah.
But there's content behind it.
Right.
You know, you can listen to war stories on any number of podcasts of the History Channel, but listening to Jocko tell a war story, it's
Yep.
different.
Yep.
So, I mean, and I guess when all I see is someone's dog every day or their baby every day,
It gets tiring.
it's like, where's the content?
Yeah. And I stopped. I used to post pictures of me running on a pretty regular basis. And I noticed on my Instagram feed, it was nothing but running. And I thought, oh, this is getting really old. I should stop doing it. I stopped doing it for a couple weeks. And I had, every time I would go into an appointment, they were like, did you stop running? Like, no. They're like, well, they were helping motivate me. I'm like, they were? Wait, my were helping motivate you? Like, well, yeah, kind of. Okay. I had no idea. You never know who you're motivating,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got my wife running now.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So it's kind of, I mean, she just kind of decided one day, hey, I'm going to run a 5K. You want to run a 5K with me? And I was like, yeah, let's go right now.
Was she into working out and exercising prior to that?
A little bit here and there, but not quite as much, not on a religious basis. Yeah.
So, not to change the subject away from your wife running, but before I lose this thought, what about the objection to using social media as far as other people posting content about you? Because I really, for a long time, and it still bothers me a little bit, but it'll really bother me if somebody posts a picture of me or something that we did on the weekend that, not that I'm hiding, I have anything to hide,
Right.
but I didn't give them permission to post that.
Yeah.
Right. I'll just be honest. A buddy of mine posted a picture of a coyote hunt we did, and I saw it on Facebook, and it made me mad because I'm like, I didn't say it was okay to do that, but we really don't need permission anymore. Facebook's been around long enough, but you know, I mean, I'm open about hunting, but maybe I didn't want that picture to be out there
Right.
for all my business partners to
Yeah.
see.
I totally agree. I think anymore, it's almost like open season where anything goes and I can post anything on social media, and whether or not you agree with it or not, it could be a picture of you at the beach, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah, maybe beach. Maybe you took a picture of your buddy on the beach,
Right.
posted it on a Wednesday. Maybe he was supposed to be at work that day.
Right. So I always go with the intent that when I'm taking a picture, I'm like, this is going on Instagram, by the way. And if they say, oh, no, don't post that, which, I mean, I work with a lot of women. So they always have to approve the post way before. Oh, no, you better retake that. You know, and you have to do like 20 takes.
I actually had an old boss that was like, I saw him somewhere, and he's like, you're actually working today, and I was like, I work every day. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, man, you've been traveling a bunch. And sometimes Facebook will pull up those memories from a long time ago, and people will like it or start commenting on it, to where if they don't look at the dates, it looks like you were just in Hawaii.
Right.
And so that, like, that one really stuck with me, and it bothered me, because I was like, I go to the office 5 days a week and on the weekends too, oftentimes. So it like rubbed me the wrong way that, you can post a picture, but
And that's kind of the bad side of social media right there, is maybe people are paying too close of attention sometimes. Yeah, I'm kind of a private person anyway, so, getting onto social media was kind of a jump in the tank. For me, it wasn't something that I was really super comfortable with at first, and it wasn't until, maybe 2012 when I started realizing, like, hey, this can be utilized as a tool to, for businesses and brand awareness. But prior to that, I didn't really post a whole lot, and most of it was just pictures of kids or hiking. And
That's where I'm at now. I'm breaking through that privacy, self-conscious.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Tough, yeah, because you want to be portrayed in a positive light, obviously. So, and if somebody's taking a picture of you, with your shirt off at the beach, and you don't look that great, you don't have a choice as to whether or not they're going to post it or not.
Well, and I'm having a hard time too. I'm definitely interested in people I know and people I'm friends with, and I want to know what's going on in their lives. But to do that, Facebook has never been a tool for me. It's been an email, or better yet, I pick up the phone and call, hey, what's going on?
Right.
Oh, you just got back from vacation. Where did you go?
Right.
For me, I'd rather do that than learn about it on Facebook. So since I've been going to your classes, I'm time blocking out 20 minutes every morning where I go on there and I actually see what people are doing, and I am interested in what they're doing, and then I'm practicing that, taking online, offline. So,
Right.
So maybe transition to that if you don't mind.
Yeah. So the class that you're speaking of is, I think it's called experiential marketing, and a nod to Justin Tucker again. He's probably watching this as well. He did this talk to our nerd group a while back about experiential, and
Your what group?
our nerd group. It's a group of, I'm a marketing technology director, MTD, and we have MTDs in different parts of the country. We affectionately call ourselves the nerds.
Is it an acronym, or are you just being
No, we're all marketing nerds, basically. So, and I've been a nerd my entire life. So, I mean, I had a computer in 1984.
Nice.
So, I guess back when computers weren't cool, in high school. And so the class that you're referring to was where I don't talk about advertising, and it's talking about just paying attention to the people that you want to pay attention to the most. So your referral partners or your close friends, those people, and using social media as a tool to kind of peer into their lives, stalk them, I guess you could say stalk them, just to see what's going on, like whether they got a new puppy, or they got maybe their dog died, or maybe they had a new baby, or they had a fifth baby, or they got a new job and they're moving to Florida, or they retired and they're moving to Arizona. Now you have the inside track on all that information, and you can use that as a tool to pick up the phone and say, hey, I saw you just got back from Hawaii. My wife and I are talking about going to Maui next year. I'd love to sit down with you and have coffee and talk about it. And if they're on a good one-to-one basis with you, I want to sit down and tell you about my trip to Colorado. Sure. Why not?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's, taking the online, offline, and not just hitting the like button. I call it the drive-by like, where you're just scrolling through and you hit the like button, and then you just keep going, and keep going. You're actually, make a comment on it, like, oh my gosh, you guys look so happy, or oh my gosh, look how big little Johnny is. I remember when he was a baby and you guys bought your house, and what that does is it shows them that you're paying attention. And then in a way you're kind of hacking the Facebook algorithm too, and you're telling Facebook, these are the people that I want to see and hear from the most. So that's,
I love that tip, by the way. I did that. I created a couple of different friends lists. And at first I was thinking, okay, I'm going to use this as a marketing tool. But then I realized it was really a good way to only see a post about the people that you really want to follow and really care about.
strips out all the crap.
Yeah.
The best part about it is you hit that friends list, all the ads are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best part for me. Yeah, so I get up in the morning and I just hit a button, and strip out my news feed. Now I don't have to see ads for everything under the sun.
Well, keep doing what you're doing, and you just tell me when I'm abusing the privilege, because I have a lot of things I'm working on that I'm going to want your input and help with.
Cool.
But keep doing what you're doing, and thanks for doing it, because I think that the people that are watching you do what you do. If you're missing the point of why you're doing it, I think that lesson alone is almost more valuable than the content you're giving them.
Yeah.
Is, go after your business through education,
Right.
instead of advertising, right? All right, you ready to transition?
Yeah, let's transition. What are we talking about
So
next?
12 months ago, how old? How old were you 12 months ago?
48.
At 48, you decided to ice climb.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, this is going to be a good one, right?
All
here.
right, good.
Yeah. I don't know if it was necessarily exactly 12 months ago, maybe 18 months ago. We had the idea after scaling a couple of peaks, a couple of volcanoes around here. We're like, let's do something bigger, and we looked at a couple of different routes, and all of them required, 2 tools and ice climbing and, ice screws and protection and roping. And it seemed kind of over my head at the time, like way over my head, by the way, way over my pay grade. So we thought, well, let's take a class on ice climbing and see what happens. So we signed up for a class at,
Were you doing any sort of climbing before this, or did you go straight from hiking, mountain climbing to?
it was basically from mountain climbing.
So no
Yeah.
rock climbing.
No, we hadn't done any rock climbing or anything like that prior to that. No.
Okay.
Signed up for a class through RMI, Rainier Mountaineering Incorporated, and the class was in Ouray, Colorado. And we thought, worst case scenario, we go to Ouray, we have fun, we climb some ice, we learn a couple of new skills. And so maybe a month before, maybe 2 months before, we started going to the Source Climbing Center.
Well, it's an indoor climbing center in downtown Vancouver.
Yep, indoor climbing center. Yep. And I discovered, like, wow, this is really fun. You get to, you're learning rope skills and you're learning knots and you're, it's the technical ability of it. And not only that, but from the physical standpoint as well, it felt really, really good. And we get to drink beer afterwards. It's usually, why we go climbing. We're like, let's go hit heathen afterwards, And so we started doing that 2-3 times a week. And then we headed to Colorado. So by the time we got to Colorado, we were pretty well fit. We had done some fitness level and got our arms, good and ready for some endurance stuff. We get to Colorado and the instructors, we have these 3 instructors, and they just threw us on the wall. Just like, hey, go climb, see how you do. And they're watching us just fail
On ice.
on the ice wall in Ouray, Colorado. Yeah. Just watching us fail going up this.
What
And
does
they're-
a fail look like? Like falling?
Well, I mean, falling, but you're on a rope. So you're being belayed just like a rock climbing,
Okay.
And so we have those anchors up above, and they're watching us try to go up these, and then they're like, okay, now you guys all suck, by the way. We're all rookies at this. Now we're going to show you how to really do it. And gave us some instruction, and we climbed up and down these routes in Ouray, Colorado for 2 days. And I fell in love with it. I mean, it was so much fun. It's challenging. It's every route is different. It's not like rock climbing. You have like this handhold and this handhold and this foothold. In ice climbing, everything is a foothold. Everything is punching in the ice. And I fell in love with the sport, honestly.
Is there a steep learning curve as far as what to do and what not to do? Like, don't put your pick here because you're going to break the piece of ice off that you're attached to?
Yeah, in some cases, yeah. In this case, we were in a Ouray Ice Park, which is basically a mile-long canyon, and they put sprinklers on this wall, and it creates these ice formations on one
Weird.
side of the wall. Yeah, it's an ice park is basically what it is. So like Smith Rock
Yeah.
is a rock climbing park. they did kind of the same thing with ice here, but it's a mile-long canyon, and I think there's 130, 150 routes
Wow.
somewhere around there.
And does the state do that, or is that a private venture?
It is a private, yeah. Yep.
So they bought the property and then they installed the sprinklers.
Yep.
And
And-
you have to pay to do it.
No, but you can become a member of the park. And
Gotcha.
you can volunteer at the park, and you can become a donor of the park. So
What a cool
idea.
idea.
We went there. We climbed for 2 days. We went in and made a couple of donations and bought a hat and bought a shirt and that kind of stuff. And it was we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. So we left Ouray, came back. Went up to Mount Hood. There's a route in Mount Hood called Devil's Kitchen Headwall, and it's an ice climbing route. There's some ice climbing in it, and we thought, what better way to take the skills that we already learned and go hit this head wall? And it seemed like a good idea at the time. It was rather foggy that day.
And now you're away from the instructors. It's just you and your buddy.
Yep.
Okay. And is this, when you go to do this, are there other people around, or are you by yourself?
No, we were by ourselves in this particular canyon. Yeah. And it was a little more technical than I had thought, and a little bit more above my pay grade than I really thought. But that's how you get comfortable being uncomfortable and figuring it out, and building the anchors and knowing, like, okay, I'm going to be climbing up 15, 20 feet here, and I can't fall. And your calves are just on fire and your arms are on fire and you're shaking, but you have to keep going. You don't have a choice. You have to keep going, because it's a long way down.
Yeah. And you're not free climbing this 20 feet.
No.
You're still on ropes.
He's my climbing partner is going up. I'm lead. He's leading, and he's about halfway up this pitch, and I'm like, hey man, you should put a screw in right there just in case, and so puts a nice screw in and clips in and then keeps going, and then I go up right behind him and he belays me from the top. Is how it worked. And we get up to the top and it's completely fogged in. We can't really tell where we are or where we're supposed to be. And it was like a ping pong ball. And I got most of it on video on a GoPro. And we're sitting at the top of, or at the bottom of this little place, and at the top of the Devil's Kitchen Headwall called the Gendarme. And I take off a glove and stupidly put it under my arm to do something. And I'm doing something, and then I lift my arm and my glove goes down, 100 feet or something like that. I'm like, I just look over at my climbing partner, and he like nods his head. It's gone. I hope you have another pair of gloves. I'm like, well, I do have another pair of gloves. I always carry backup, And so, we end up rappelling, going up this other ridge, and we're sitting at the top of this ridge, and we don't know, is the summit that way? Is the summit that way? Is the summit that way? I don't know, I hope my wife isn't watching this, because she's probably never going to let me climb again.
At what point do we call the helicopters in?
Yeah.
Right?
And, we have in reach. So if, shit does hit the fan, you hit this button, and
It's like an emergency
it is
GPS.
like a beacon. Yeah. Like
And
an
is that a
emergency
service
beacon.
you pay for? Like,
It is, yeah. Yep. Garmin InReach. And so my watch, ironically, my watch is a GPS as well. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, well, this way is north, and that way it looks like it's up. So the summit's got to be this way. And sure enough, that's where it was. And we were able to find the summit and then find our way down from there. But that was a 15-hour day, from the bottom up through the canyon to the top and then back down to the bottom. So that was
right. If you
day.
can, get on his Facebook. I want you to pull up a picture
Okay.
of a rope with a hole in it. You showed me this the other day, and I love to ski. I love to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But and I'd done some rock climbing when I was a kid, but this to me just terrifies me.
Yeah. So and it's actually not on my Facebook. It's on a different platform. Well, it's on Facebook, but in a group. I didn't post it to my Facebook page because I didn't want to freak people out. Honestly, there was some debate as to, I had a GoPro on when I was climbing.
Just describe it.
And when we got back, my climbing partner, we were sitting at the hotel, and he's like, "Yeah, we should probably not tell our wives about that, type of thing."
Now she knows.
And the first thing I did when I got back, I'm like, check this out. I almost died. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening was, this was our second time to Ouray, Colorado. We decided we were going to go fly up this Charmin tube, and I think we were on the third or fourth pitch, and it was maybe 125 feet up, and I was 50 feet up off of the deck. And I swung my pick, and it went right through the middle of my rope. This 9mm rope went right through the middle, and I pulled it out of the wall. And looking at the rope, like with my pick, and muffled, I got the headlamp or my GoPro on. I look over at my partner, and I said, "I just put my pick through my rope." And he said something, I couldn't hear him. And my first thought was, "Do I have a change of underwear?"
Yeah, I was just going
in
to
my
say, how
pack?
puckered up were you?
And my second thought was, let's just blast up this as quick as I can, get off this wall. And then, as I thought about it more, I'm like, you know what, maybe I should just go nice and slow and, make sure that I'm not, make sure my placements are good and my feet are good so that I don't take a fall on this rope.
Yeah.
It probably would have held. And I say probably.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't have to find out.
Probably would have held. But I got up to the top and, told the guide when I got up to the top, hey, I put a hole in my rope. And he was like, oh, yeah. Oh. Well, I'm glad you made it to the top, is what he said. I'm
my
glad you made it to the
gosh.
top. And and then we got to rappel on that same rope coming down. But luckily it was on the tail end.
So it was
Yeah.
below, yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I've been talking a lot about lately, and maybe I'm just getting it wrong, but it seems like some successful people will pursue activities and hobbies outside of work that require similar skills,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you talked about having to fight through the pain, being you don't have any choice but to, you can't,
Yeah.
your muscles are all cramped up and you have no choice but to complete it, right?
Right.
So do you find that there are correlations between ice climbing and being an entrepreneur, marketing, and kind of what you do? And do you think there's some subconscious reason why you enjoy that? Or am I just reading too much into it?
No, I think there's definitely a correlation. And I was always told, well, somebody smart told me one day, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And if you put yourself in uncomfortable positions, then you're used to working in that uncomfortable level. When you do get comfortable, everything is so much easier. It's just an absolute breeze.
That's really easy to do, is to find yourself just a little over your head,
Yeah.
just a little uncomfortable, just a little having to fake it to make it a lot in
Right.
business, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the same thing in mountain climbing, or ice climbing, is you find that edge and you try to ride that edge and not go over the edge to the point where you're going to get hurt or worse. Yeah.
It almost seems like that exercises your confidence a little bit too.
For sure. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, when you go up, I think I've done hood 6 times in the last year. And in fact, I just did it last Sunday and took up a kid who had never done it before, and to see it through his eyes, and then, seeing the fear in his eyes coming down the pearly gates, he was literally petrified. You could tell he was very, very uncomfortable. It's pretty steep. And here I am, just like standing there with my phone out, swiveling around, going, wow, look how steep it is. This is
And
awesome.
18 months prior, you were him.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Yep. So you get that level of comfort. The trick is at what point does that level of comfort stop, or can you take it too far? I would love to see how far I could take it, honestly. And I think ice climbing was a good way to, put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. I'd never climbed that high. I'd never climbed wild ice before like that.
What's wild ice?
A wild ice is a backcountry, so you're walking out to the backcountry. It's not farmed ice where they're
gotcha.
putting a
Like the
sprinkler.
sprinklers,
Yeah, put a sprinkler. This is wild. So it's an actual waterfall. And so when you're 185 foot off the deck and you can hear the waterfall going behind the ice, and you can actually see the water going down, and you put your pick in and a chunk of ice falls off, and you can see the water trickling out of it, and your hands are frozen and you don't know what to do. You better figure it out quick, because if you don't figure it out, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. I don't feel so silly for making that reference.
No,
because I think
no.
it's very true.
You got to
it's
take chances.
how you do. I might be stealing Ryan's thunder here, but how you do one thing is how you do everything. Is that the saying?
The quote is, "How you do anything is how you do everything."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I over the past 10 years have gotten deep into fly fishing and fly tying, and there's a lot of, in a really nerdy way, there's a lot of correlations there too. Attention to detail, having your routine, consistency.
Oh yeah.
Never having a hobby that you're never going to master, like golf. You're never going to master golf. You're never going to be the perfect fly caster. Takes a lifetime to learn. So I think that's
That's part of the
subconsciously
fun.
one of the reasons. Yeah, that's why I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Sharpen
So my
bows.
dad taught me how to tie flies.
Oh yeah.
at
How old
a-
were you?
10,
'Cause I'm teaching my daughter now,
Yeah.
and she's getting good.
10 or 11. He would open up this book and he would go, make me 10 of those right there. And then he would,
That's
have
just
the-
child labor.
Yeah.
That's what I thought too. But I thought, dude, I'm going to get to use these flies. This is going to be the best thing ever. We're going to go to Davis Lake this winter.
Yeah.
We're going to fly fish. And yeah. So for me, it was almost, like I felt like I was involved in the process instead of just opening one out and taking one out and putting it on. Like I actually made that fly and I caught a fish with that
Well,
fly.
you get a lot of hippies that talk about being close to earth, close to nature.
Yeah.
For me, I never understood that. I always thought it was hippy dippy talk
Yep.
until I tied a fly from feathers from a rooster, from pheasants that I killed over a dog I trained,
Yeah.
and I caught fish on it. And then it was such weird because I've caught lots of fish on fly rods before, but I'll never forget that night, 28 years old, caught my first trout on a fly I tied
That's an awesome story.
with materials I gathered with another animal. So you have 3 animals involved in catching this fish.
Yep.
And at that point, I'm like, I get it.
Very primal.
It's
by
very
the way.
primal. I get it. Like I have an appreciation, which
If you'd have made the hook from a bone of one
Yeah.
of those animals, it would have been even better. Like, this is the wishbone that
Yeah.
we use. Use Jocko's voice when you do it.
and see, there's no danger there. So when I went home, like you shared, putting a hole through your rope to your wife, I was so excited. I came home, I'm like, Carissa, this is what I did. I get it now. She's
Yeah.
like, I don't care.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Where are we going to eat tonight, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where I was going to go with it real quick, I just pulled up "Make Your Bed" by Admiral William H. McRaven, and
Which is what we just watched his
yeah.
commencement speech on
Yeah.
Midweek Motivator.
So you can look up on YouTube. He has a book about it as well. But if you just type in on YouTube "Make Your Bed," you can also buy his book. But
Cool.
he talks about if you basically essentially, like, let's say they send them out for a swim and you're the last ones to come in on the swim, or you mess up.
This
in
was
s-
Navy SEAL training.
Yeah,
right?
you mess up in some way. You have to do what's called the circus, which is 2 extra hours of calisthenics after you've already had full days of calisthenics. And so everybody else goes in, and him and his swim partner in his situation were out there doing flutter kicks and push-ups and sit-ups and 2 extra hours, and they were already exhausted, beat
Yeah.
down. But what they found is that basically by doing these circuses so often, that it was making them so much more mentally stronger and physically stronger, that when it came to the end of SEAL training, they were first out of the water.
Yep.
And so just like, just embracing the hard stuff
Right.
and putting it to good use, basically.
Yeah. You've read Goggins' book too, right?
I'm actually like halfway through that right now. Yeah.
And he talks a lot about embracing the suck.
Yep.
And like doing the things that are hard and that you don't really want to do, but you're going to do them anyway. Kind of like when you get home and your wife makes spaghetti and you got to go on a long run. You're like, well, I got to wait to eat, but it's going to make me run faster, and then, you embrace that, my calves are burning and my legs are burning. And, when you're on the side of a ice wall and you're going up and your arms are burning, you're embracing that. You're like, I'm never going to feel this feeling again, and kind of almost relishing in it, I guess some people can't relate to that. They're like, I'm fine right here on my couch.
You know, Joe Rogan told a story once on a hunting show where it was actually Steve Rinella was talking with Joe Rogan, but he was talking about the fact that like the best memories come from hard situations
Yeah.
versus like cheap thrills. So, like one of your best memories will probably be the hood climb where it took you 15 hours. At the time, it sucked and it was hard and you were miserable.
I was ready to be done. Yeah.
You just wanted back in the warm car,
Yep.
get me some food. But that will forever be probably one of your best memories
And
because
something I can tell the grandkids.
yeah, so it's something about that.
Yeah. And then the next time I go up and do that, I have something to measure it by too. So that's kind of nice. This last time we did hood on Sunday, I think we made it up in record time. I don't think I'd ever made it to the crater that fast before. And I felt like, in fact, I sent my wife a video while I was on the Hogsback. I was like, I'm at the Hogsback already, and I don't feel like I really did anything. I feel like I'm just out for a Sunday walk.
Yeah. There's definitely a yin yang right there.
Yeah.
And we just watched, what was the guy's name last week on Wednesday?
Ed Milet?
Ed Milet, where he talked about be happy where you're at,
Yeah.
but know where you want to go.
Right.
Like you don't always have to be motivated by being unhappy where you're at, is you can do both.
Right.
Right. And I think maybe going through things like that show you that you can grow and be happy. And sometimes you have to go through pains to get there, and that's okay.
And you
Yeah.
have to set goals,
Yeah. He talks about being happy with where you're at, but knowing that you're inferior to your future self. Yourself a year from now.
Right.
So knowing there's still lots of room for improvement, but like being okay with where you're at right now today.
So I can't remember who it was, but I remember maybe it was Jocko that was talking about being 1% better today than you were yesterday, just trying to constantly make that improvement and constantly learn. And that's kind of my mantra is I'm always looking for try something different or try something better or to get better at something than I was the day before, instead of just sitting on my couch and flipping on the TV and, watching 8 hours of Netflix, which is easy to do, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times, don't get me wrong, I'll sit down and just like, okay, I just need to chill out and veg for a couple hours.
Well, you got to have those days too. Like I went over to my buddy's house who's always doing something, running a cattle ranch, climbing mountains. I mean, going a million miles an hour. You know what I'm talking about, Ryan. And I went over to his house to pick up a boat, and I went in to have breakfast with him. And it's like 11 o'clock on a Saturday, and he's in his pajamas just lounging. I've never seen him like
Yeah.
that. He's like, dude, sometimes you just got to lounge.
Yeah.
But when you were talking, I was thinking too, it's like that persevering, right, through whatever, when you start to get exhausted or whatever. But it's like that last 10 minutes on the Friday. It's like doing that one more thing. Like you're ready to go, do one more thing.
Right.
It's that last
Not
1%. Yeah. And that does something to your,
Work harder.
it does something to your psychology, I think.
Yeah. And a buddy of mine from a long time ago, his philosophy was, work hard and play harder.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked harder than anybody I knew, but he also played harder than anybody that I knew. And I remember carrying over, like just looking up to him. He was the same age as me, but looking up to him like wow, he never mails it in at 4 o'clock on a Friday and just says, you know what, screw this, let's just go to the bar. He'd be like grinding it out until 7 p.m. Then we go to the bar.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
And just like your spaghetti, those beers will taste
Yeah,
better.
grind it out, man. Sometimes you got to grind it out.
Yeah, my favorite saying is, I love eating lunch, right? But if I'm going a million miles an hour and somebody points out that it's 1:30, I love pulling the line from the movie Wall Street. Lunch is for wimps.
Yeah.
I say it like I know. Yeah, lunch is for wimps. But yeah.
Unless you got a big run scheduled, then lunch is
Lunch is
for
absolutely
wimps.
necessary.
You have to eat lunch at that point, otherwise you're going to bonk on your run. So
All right. So anything else you want to talk about here? Anything we skipped over? I just you're having a profound impact in a lot of local people's career
Yeah,
in our
that's great.
industry, and that's why we wanted to have you on, because Ryan and I usually, before we have a guest on, we kind of look at each other and say, why are we having this person on? And that's why.
I love it.
in more ways than one.
I
So,
love it. I love seeing the success in other people when they start implementing some of these things and they see the change and they're like, wow. I mean, I knew it was going to work, but I had no idea it was going to work that well.
That's got to feel good.
It does. It feels great.
And you own it, right? You got your name attached to it.
Well, sometimes I don't like to 100% attach my name to it. I'm like, I showed you how to ice climb.
Yeah.
You climbed the wall by yourself. You had the courage to do it. So I just gave you the instructions.
I didn't tell you to post that picture.
Yeah.
All right. We don't always ask this question, but we like to. And we ask it in different ways. And I think I'll ask and I'll let Ryan ask it. We end up doing this anyways, but we'll plan it this time.
So just as far as like his definition of success.
Well, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Let me ask it and then you ask it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, shoot.
What about success, or why is success important to you?
Whew, that's a good one. I think it's if the ability to look back and say, I was able to accomplish this or help somebody else accomplish this or get to this milestone in their career is kind of nice, but I never settle. It's like the high jumper who, high jumps 6 feet. Now they want to jump 6'1". Now they want to jump 6'2". And then it gets to 7 feet and they're constantly looking for that edge to help them get over that last half an inch. And that's kind of me. Like, what am I going to do next? What am I looking at next? Trying to look, 3 months in the future for what's coming up so that when you ask me the question, I already know the answer. But I think success,
Which is hard to do.
It's very hard to
in
do.
social media.
Yeah. You know what? I listen to a lot of podcasts while I'm running. You go on a 20-mile run, you can knock out 5 or 6 podcasts in one sitting. And so what's nice is you can kind of listen to what other people are talking about or what other people are saying and kind of gauge that way. But seeing other people succeed over the concepts and philosophies that I help them do, I mean, there's no better feeling than that, than watching somebody, sell 100 houses a year, from something that I help them learn or understand. That's success in my eyes.
It's good. I like it.
Do you not understand where I'm going with our 2 different questions?
Well, you always just pose it just a little bit different than I do.
Because I think it's good to look at it both ways, because you got to look at if you're self-reflecting on why am I doing this or why I have this pursuit is what is my definition of success and why is that important to me? I think you got to have both. And I totally stole that. I stole the why portion from Todd Duncan. He'd always ask it that way.
Yeah.
Is or what about success, or why is that important to you?
Why is important?
Yeah.
It's kind of validation for what I'm doing.
Well, I think I just say that
Yeah.
rhetorically. I think you answered it perfectly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And and
Never-
that's something
never-
to get passionate about.
Yeah.
Is
I'd-
watch other people succeed.
I'm passionate about a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's funny, we came here and talked about marketing and ice climbing, the 2 things that I'm probably most passionate about.
Good. Good. Well, having these organic conversations are really fun, and they're fairly easy to do, but they're really easy to do when you focus on stuff that you or the other person's passionate
Right.
about.
Yeah,
So
totally. And you guys, by the way, props to you guys for putting this podcast out there. Something that I've told a lot of agents and lenders, hey, you guys should start doing a podcast of some kind. And they're like, who would be interested in a podcast? Like, if I started doing a podcast about ice climbing, there probably wouldn't be very many people that would be interested in it. But the people who are interested in it are going to be, they're my kind of people.
yeah.
So props to you guys for actually taking this on. And, all this equipment, it's not easy. Putting the stuff on isn't
Well,
easy.
and maybe the smart move would have been to do it on our industry instead of on success. But it's fun it's our passion.
No, I don't. I think if you did it on your industry, your audience would be smaller.
Well, I just started a new podcast on my industry.
Okay.
I did, but I'm just giving you a
Well,
hard
good.
time.
Then you can use this as the launching pad to help you with your podcast for your industry. And you can talk about success stories. You can bring on some of your clients who had success at your company.
Yeah, we're taking it, kind of stealing what you're doing and what Joe Roeder is doing is this one I'm doing. And I don't mean to plug my own podcast. It's not even out yet. But it's all about 10-minute educational videos. It's not about marketing or pushing my services. It's all about educating people that are going through that process.
Yep,
But,
content marketing.
and I thought a long time about it. It's watching guys like you and people outside of our industry do that whole education piece.
But this part isn't easy. I mean, what you guys are doing isn't easy to coordinate, get the equipment, and I mean, you even have like the
Release
the
forms.
waivers and
Legal
everything
waivers.
else. You got all the I's crossed and all
It's
the T's
fun.
dotted.
It's been fun, just like ice climbing.
Yeah.
We knew nothing. All that we knew is that we're a fan of other podcasts, especially Joe Rogan's, and it's a challenge. You know, we didn't know how to do any of it. We still don't know. Ryan reminded me of that. He's like, dude, we still don't know what we're doing.
We don't.
Well, go back and look at some of Joe Rogan's early podcasts, and you see what a train wreck they were originally, and where it is now.
It's crazy.
It's totally different.
He gets more views than like primetime news broadcasts.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's insane because it's genuine though. That's why. You know, it's not filtered. It's not censored. It's genuine. The guests that he have, they're great. They tell stories, and I think inherently we want to hear those stories.
You want to know my philosophy on why?
Why?
Because the art of conversation like we're doing right now is lost. You go into a restaurant or bar and you sit and eavesdrop. I did this last night. It was my dad's birthday. We went out to dinner and I got there early, so I sat in the bar and I just listened. And almost every conversation around me was two people talking to each other about themselves. It wasn't a conversation. It was, I did this weekend. Great. I did this weekend. Oh, I just bought this. Great. I just bought this. And it wasn't an engaging conversation.
Right.
And, you know, maybe that's why one of the reasons I've fallen so hard into hunting and fishing is the relationships and sitting around the campfire or sitting in a duck blind or in a fishing boat
For
and
sure.
just talking. So I think that's what draws a lot of people to these podcasts is they can unfilter, listen to two people talk and kind of fulfill that thing that we're kind of missing in our day-to-day lives.
Right. I think mobile has not done us any favors. We're chained to our mobile. In fact, so Facebook and Instagram were down. Was it last Wednesday? A week ago last Wednesday. I think it was a Wednesday because I did a long run in the morning and I was posting something with my long run and it wasn't going. I was like, all right, screw it, you know, whatever. Facebook and Instagram were down for like the whole day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I just remember like just feeling like this giant weight lifted off my shoulders. Like I don't have to worry about that shit right now. This is great. You know, I stopped checking it for a while. I think I checked it at night. I'm like, oh, it's back up, and everybody was talking about the Facebook outage of 2019. You know, marking themselves safe from the Facebook outage.
Yeah.
But that it's become an addiction, and I think it's a horrible addiction, by the way. And I'm guilty of it as anybody, only because I work in it.
Yeah. Well, it's also brought a lot of enhancements and a lot of enjoyment to people. But one last quick story. 2 nights ago, Powerball's at like 500 million.
Yeah.
I go down to the little Minute Mart in Richfield, and I go in there and I buy $12 worth of lottery tickets. And the gal goes, "What's the first thing you're going to do if you win?" And I said, "Throw my cell phone in the river," right? Just kind of joking. She looked at me really strange. And so I went home and I said to my wife, I said, yeah, this gal asked me what I was going to do. So I said I was going to throw my cell phone in the river. And she goes, "What did you say?" I go, yeah, she looked at me really weird. She goes, "It sounds like you're going to throw yourself in the river." And I was like, oh, crap. I almost drove back down and said, I'm not going to throw myself in the
Gonna be
river.
this floating body
Yeah.
cascading down towards the coast. Like, see that guy? He won the
He just won the
Powerball.
Powerball.
Yeah, just jumped off a bridge.
Well, maybe if my numbers were drawn, but I didn't buy a ticket.
There you go.
But yeah, it's like if you did win Powerball, would you just disconnect? Would you just disconnect from Facebook and everything?
Yeah, you would probably never see my ass again. Yeah, and I wouldn't be posting pictures of me on the side of an ice wall or anything else like that. You'd just be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where he is, somewhere in the Himalayas or in the Andes or in the Alps, or you know, he's climbing something, but he's not posting about it.
Well, before that happens, how can people get in touch with you? Go ahead and plug some ways people can connect.
Yeah, Instagram is kind of my platform of choice these days. Instagram is at Larry Hales, all one word. And Facebook, it's the same thing, facebook.com, Larry Hales. So, and if there's two Larry Hales, you find two of them on there. One's black and he has dreadlocks. It's not me.
So the wrong
just
Larry.
FYI, yeah. So I've kind of made this joke that, one of these days I'm going to go to Utah and I'm going to meet this guy. We're going to have beers together. And
Do you follow him?
I do, yeah. Ironically,
That's
so I have
awesome.
a Google alert set. Anytime he lands in the news, and he's like an activist kind of thing, and so anytime he lands in the news, I get an alert, and it's kind of great, It's like shows Larry Hales arrested in Utah. I'm like, I was, yeah. Yeah. So, and I don't know if he follows me quite the same, but I think he reached out to me a while back, like a couple of years ago, and said, "Hey, I noticed you don't use Twitter that much. Can I have your Twitter handle?" And I said, "No." It's mine. You get to be Larry Hales too, because I'm number one, baby. So that would be a lot of fun to hang out with him.
Interesting. Well, great. We got a couple more coming up. We've been on a roll. Hit us up on our Instagram, our Facebook, our social media.
Yep, our website, thehuntforsuccesspodcast.com. Subscribe there. YouTube, subscribe, leave some comments, share it, like it, love it.
Take the online, offline.
Facebook,
Yeah.
you can find us there. Instagram, all the above.
You can send a card to Cody, take it offline.
Yeah, there you go. A winning Powerball ticket.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
This was a lot of fun.
Perfect.
Thanks for the beer, too.
Anytime. Come on again. Let's
Yeah.
do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
All right.